The last Hightower we rode was the Frankenbike LT version, which didn't ride like a Frankenbike at all, but rather a very cohesive, versatile all-mountain machine. We liked it more than the shorter travel version, but now there's only one Hightower, and it showed up in Park City with modern geometry and Santa Cruz's low-link suspension layout.
I really like this platform. I'll be the first to admit that I haven't loved a lot of the VPP Santa Cruz designs in the past.
No, when?
I really like the new ones though, and the Hightower really stands out for me. I really do like the tall boy, the new tall boy, but the Hightower, it feels like it's as efficient. It's almost like why not kind of a bike, right? Like it's got a little bit more travel, and it feels like as efficient, as quick on the climbs, maybe a little bit more like gushy when you push it into corners and stuff like that. But it's just like, it adds a level of capability, you know, like that you can really access the big mountains on this bike. It just feels like a classic all mountain bike to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, it's a bike you can ride all day, tackle some big climbs, and then descend some rowdy stuff on the other side. And part of that I think is it's a pretty lightweight bike, at least the build we had. But I mean, it's also definitely, the suspension is super efficient and feels good whether you're going up or going down.
Yeah, it's got the geometry to stand behind that, right? Like it's got a nice deep seat angle. It's got an appropriate slack head angle.
Yeah, 65.5.
Yeah, and it's like, it's modern, right? Modern reach, everything. It doesn't feel too long. It feels like a nice, comfortable bike.
Both by its numbers and its feel, the Hightower is tough to categorize. And that's probably part of why it's one of the most popular bikes in the test. Rarely was there a day that it wasn't out on a photo mission or even on a joyride. Uphill or down, flowy or frantic, the Hightower was always in its element.
So we chose to ride this bike on the more aggressive course, and we had a lot of bikes that were much bigger than this, you know, more suited for that course, but it didn't feel like it was, you know, underdone, really.
No, it didn't feel like a compromise at all, and I think that speaks to this bike, right? Like, when you just look at the specs, you think, you know, it's in that sort of mid-range category, but it's really capable of doing like full-on downhill trails, which is what we were, or old school downhill trails, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think about like trail bikes being, you know, like they have to climb and they have to descend kind of equally, right? There's no like bias, right? And then when I think about all mountain bikes, which we kind of really, you know, we don't use that term quite as often as we used to, but like I think about, this is like just a bigger version of a trail bike, right? Like it doesn't seem like it has a bias. What, you know, it climbs super well, it descends super well. It doesn't really prefer either one. And that's what I really like about it, you know, because it does feel like a bike that you can just like do whatever on. You can go, you know, on vacations with it. You can ride your home trails. You can take it on bigger shit. It's a great bike.
Yeah, I mean, there are places where I'd rather have a tall boy, I think, or a Joplin.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those trails are, you know, places where you don't have extended descents or trails that are really tight and techy, and you just need something that corners really, really well. You want to be able to get on the gas really fast and just turn the bike on a dime.
Yeah, that bike does have more of an XC feel, right? But like, I just feel like you're not compromising that much when you go up to the Hightower.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's the main rub with these two bikes is it's like they're both super capable. So when you're looking at one or the other, I think it's a really terrain-specific decision. Like, what are you riding most around your house? Like, what's your like goal for the season? You know, like if you're trying to go bigger and get sendier, and you really like to point it, this is the bike for you.
Yeah.
If you're more of like a tech specialist and you like the twisty, you know, wringly stuff, that's probably more of a tall boy.
Yeah. I think another interesting comparison is the Norco Sight.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the bikes aren't that different in terms of their travel numbers. The Sight has a little bit more, but they feel really different because when you ride the Sight, you do get the sense that the bike was designed for descents.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hightower, as we've been saying, it feels more balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a bike you can sit on or sit in and pedal pretty efficiently for a long time. Like on those fire road climbs we were doing, it was great. It didn't feel like you were compromising.
But I do think that like there is a compromise for like the excellent pedal characteristics of this bike, where I feel like on the descents I felt like it was over damped and I couldn't get it to be like either the compression or the rebound to be fast enough, and I was losing traction as a result of that. Like really diving it into corners, I felt like the Norco had far better rear wheel traction.
Yeah.
Especially, and just like it just held those corners so much better. This one felt a little bit more like through the braking bumps and stuff. You could feel it chattering a little bit more. Yeah. So it takes a little bit more muscle to control it and everything. But like, you know, I think that's just the compromise for having something that's so even-handed. You know, it's really hard to make a bike that goes downhill as well as that Sight does, but then climb as well
Well,
as the Hightower will.
and something we talked about too is that the Juliana version of this bike has a lighter tune.
Yeah, and that's
so-
interesting because there are like men buying the Julianas
Right.
for that lighter tune, right?
Because the Maverick is available into a large, which is a new thing for most Juliana bikes. And so, yeah, I've heard lots of people talking about their boyfriends or people buying the Juliana version of this bike, and I think that that lighter shock tune could be appealing to some guys depending on your style of riding.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes the colors are radder in the Julianas.
Hot tomato!
That said, one thing I did like that you might not get with a lighter tune is the same ramp. And I did feel like the Hightower ramped up really nicely. So even though it was a little more chattery than a bike like the Sight, I feel like I could still hit drops on it and not feel like I was going to slam into the end of the travel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got that nice supportive feel to it.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz's latest generation of trail bikes has something for everyone, regardless of how you ride. But if we had to choose one of that lineup to be our only bike, it'd certainly be the Hightower. When you combine Take It Anywhere versatility with Santa Cruz's signature attention to detail and robust chassis feel, you get something that everyone will want to ride. We've got its full review and the rest of the Bible Bike Test videos at bikemag.com.